Monday, September 4th, 2023, AGNDD, Intellireport topic, War of the Breton Succession. Please pardon any visual and informational inaccuracies in this entirely AI-generated Wikipedia-sourced video article.
The succession crisis in Brittany during the 100 Years' War led to a power struggle between John of Montfort and Charles of Blois, with England and France getting involved. The Breton dukes had a connection to Britain and were also Earls of Richmond. Duke Arthur II of Dreux married twice and had 3 sons from his first marriage. He strongly disliked his half-siblings from his second marriage and tried to have the marriage annulled. When that failed, he tried to prevent his half-brother John of Montfort from inheriting the duchy. However, he later reconciled with John and appointed him as his heir. John III died in 1341, leaving John of Montfort as the heir of Brittany. During the succession crisis in Brittany, John of Montfort swiftly assumed control of the ducal capital and seized the treasury. The 100 Years' War between England and France further complicated matters, as John was compelled to back Edward III as the King of France. Following his defeat and subsequent imprisonment, John's wife Joanna assumed leadership of the Montfortist cause. With the aid of an English army, they managed to break sieges and regain control of certain cities. However, the truce between England and France did not bring significant changes to Brittany, as Charles of Blois continued to wage an independent fight. The Montfortist faction began to weaken, relying on support from London. The French suffered defeats at the Battle of Crécy and Calais, weakening their support for Charles of Blois in Brittany. Charles gradually lost ground to the English captains, and his unpopularity grew due to the massacre at Quimper. Breton traders also had an economic interest in strengthening ties with England. Charles was captured at the Battle of La Roche-Derrien and imprisoned for 5 years. Eventually, a peace agreement was negotiated, but the famous Combat of the 30 had no impact on the war's outcome. Edward III signed a treaty accepting Charles as Duke of Brittany, but it was negated when Charles II of Navarre assassinated the French constable. Charles of Blois returned to Brittany as Duke. The conflict between Charles of Blois and John de Montfort in Brittany remained in a stalemate for some time, with both sides controlling significant territory. However, outside events such as the plague and the capture of the French king by the English had an impact on the war. In 1362, John de Montfort was allowed to return to Brittany under certain conditions. He attempted to negotiate peace with Charles of Blois, but Charles's wife Joan urged him to resist. The war resumed in 1363, and Charles and Bertrand du Guesclin were defeated at the Battle of Auray in 1364, marking the end of the conflict. The First Treaty of Guérande, signed on the 12th of April 1365, established John of Montfort as the Duke of Brittany. The treaty outlined the succession laws for the duchy, stating that it would be passed down from male to male in the Montfort family. In the absence of male heirs, it would go to the Penthièvre family. Joan, the wife of John, retained certain prerogatives and received an annual rent. King Charles V of France recognized John as Duke to gain the support of the Breton nobility. However, the provisions of the treaty were later disregarded by the Montfortists when John V, Duke of Brittany, was kidnapped by the Penthièvres in 1420. In 1341, John III of Brittany passes away without any heirs, which triggers a dispute over the duchy. Joan of Penthièvre and Charles of Blois assumed the roles of Duchess and Duke of Brittany, respectively. However, John of Montfort refuses to accept this and seeks assistance from King Edward III of England. Over the next few years, battles, sieges, and truces take place between the two factions. Eventually, in 1364, the Battle of Auray concludes with the defeat of Charles of Blois, and John IV is acknowledged as the Duke of Brittany. Surprisingly, he proclaims himself a vassal to King Charles V of France, rather than the English king. In the end, the Montfortist party in Brittany faced numerous challenges and relied heavily on support from England. The truce between England and France did little to change the situation, and the fight for control of Brittany continued.
Thank you for watching this AGNDD Intellireport. Like, subscribe, and click the bell button to get notified during new uploads. And make sure to tune in next time. Stay safe and healthy. Cheers.